Hello everyone, my name is Elizabeth Quinn and I am responding to the tag. I actually got tagged by two different people almost simultaneously for the Why Wax challenge that is floating around here on YouTube, and I am pleased to accept, and I'm just going to jump right on in. Today I'm not really here as anybody's Scentsy consultant. I'm not here in a professional capacity. I am here to tell my personal story of why wax, and there are a lot of twists and turns here, so I'm really having a hard time deciding what the beginning of my fragrance and wax journey really is. But as a child, there wasn't an awful lot of wax in my home. My mom had a lot of candles, but they weren't candles that you would burn for scent specifically. They were more just cute candles that were seasonally appropriate. I was an 80s child, and there were lots of figurine candles, but there were these red ones that smelled like Christmas. And you guys know, if you watch my channel, that my very favorite Scentsy scent of all time is Cozy Fireside, and that is because, as a child, those old, just like red wax pillars, they smelled a lot like that. Probably Cozy Fireside is much better. But that's sort of my touchstone into the world of wax. Then as a teenager, things got a little bit more sophisticated in the 90s, and Bath & Body Works opened up, and Yankee Candle had been a thing for a long time. But as a teen, my passions, my desires, my creativity started to kind of grow and express itself. And in my family, where my father is an engineer and my mother was a retired teacher, everything was very buttoned up, everything was just exactly perfect, and creativity, other than my father's problem-solving skills, wasn't really a big part of their lives. So here I came along. I like to sing, I like to dance, I like to draw, I like to arrange flowers, I like to bake, I'm messy, I'm all over the place, and I love fragrance. My folks slowly embraced the fact that that is just who I am, and they started to let me melt wax melts. Mostly we got the tarts, and we get some jar candles from Yankee. I do remember, kind of as a first, what in the world is that? The very first wax tart that I ever saw in my home when I was growing up was one that someone gave to my mother, I think as a bridal shower present or something, because she is a hospitality person and she would have her home open all the time. And somebody gave her a Yankee Wax Tart, and I thought, what in the world is this? There's no wick. How can you use this? And so then that sort of sent me on a mission. I was probably a preteen when she had that, to discover what in the world is a Yankee Wax Tart. So we started going to the mall. You know, all teenagers love to shop, and I would go into the Yankee store and I would smell everything, and we got a wax burner, you know, the type where you're warming the wax, and it's I don't even know if Yankee still makes these. It has two parts, basically. You put the little tea light candle in the bottom, and then you put the wax melt in the top. So we got one of those, and my mother loves Holiday Sage by Yankee, which thankfully they still make in their like Precious Treasures and Memories collection occasionally, and she would get jar candles of that for Christmas. So that was another layer of scent memory for me. And then when I was in high school, I met the love of my life, Gregory, actually when I was 15. Now, he's 6 years older than me, so it was kind of a weird age split. And my background, as far as how I was raised and where I am at, my parents were raised without really a lot of religion. But I came to know Christ at 7 years old, and my parents, I'm going to get emotional in this video, you guys. My parents got to know the Lord later in life. So we started going to church when I was about, 8, 9, 10, and everything in my life was based around my faith. I went to public school up through 6th grade. That wasn't real great for me. I am, as many people here in the YouTube wax community are, I can be outgoing, but there's also a part of me that's more reserved. And eventually my folks decided maybe I should move to a private school. So I moved to a small Christian academy. And even there, I wasn't normal because most of the kids came from a very conservative Christian background, and I was a little more left-wing Pentecostal charismatic, and even all of that has changed some in my life. I believe that the Word of God is true, and that everything else, including the wax that we're going to talk about today, it really means nothing unless you have a rock-solid foundation in faith, because this world is ugly, this world is awful, you guys, and we need hope. Something like wax brings comfort into our lives, it brings joy, it brings a little pinch of security, but even those things, as pleasant as they are, someday we are not going to be here, and we are going to be in eternal spirit somewhere. And either we're going to be with the Lord or we're not. And I know that on my normal channel, I'm just here for the wax, I'm here for business, and I want to bless you all. But this is my story, and my story is about who the Lord is to me. and how he has radically changed and just made my life amazing because he is so real. So let's move on into some more wax stuff. So I am in this Christian high school. I meet this guy that I've told you is the love of my life. And the reason that he attracted me, and we'll get into more wax, I promise, is because he was just so different. Even all of the guys that I met in high school, they were just kind of boring. They were just kind of, goody two-shoes, normal Christian guys, whatever. And I'm not about religion, you guys. I have been burned so many times in church. I have had so many things, ups and downs and trials. My call, if you want to understand me, is to teach and to minister the truth of God. But almost every door, we were ordained at one time, we had all these different things that happened in our lives, all those things have shut. So here I am. 2020 happens, and everybody seems to have an origin story around 2020 in one way or another. We aren't in a big church at this point because the world is crazy. We start a home fellowship, and it's actually people in that home fellowship that asked me to eventually host a Scentsy party that got me into selling the wax. But back to me getting out of high school and the things that were just going on in my life. So the wax. When Greg and I got married, which I was just about 20, we really thought we were going into ministry, as I've kind of touched on here. I thought we were going to be traveling, preaching the gospel, holding revivals. That was what I thought my life was going to be. And so many of those doors, like I said, they just kept shutting. But one of the constants, one of the comforts in my life was going to Bath & Body Works, getting a nice candle. My very first favorite scent from Bath & Body Works was Winter. And I still have, this isn't like the oldest candle, but it's one of my favorites of this scent. I don't burn candles anymore. We'll get to that as I'm going through my wax journey here. But this smell, I remember going into Bath & Body Works when it was Harry Slatkin days, which were the heyday of Bath & Body Works fragrance. By the way, I miss those days. Those were the best scents. And honestly, if I'm really going to be brutally honest, the Harry Slatkin days at Bath & Body Works are better than most of the Scentsy that I melt now. But, it is what it is. So I went into Bath & Body Works with my mom, and they had this gigantic snowflake candle. It was bright brassy gold, and it had Aspen Winter. Like, this is so old, you guys. And it was the scent Winter. They changed the name a little bit after a year or two of production. I fell in love, and I started wanting to burn the candles. I would be in there all the time. I have spent so much money on Bath & Body Works candles over the years. So I'm newly married. My husband and I are going through all of our ministry ups and downs, and we have jobs, right? Part-time jobs outside of, or for him, full-time job, outside of thinking that we were going to pursue the ministry. And the wax just always brought us comfort. We would go to the local shops. I would get not even just Bath & Body Works, but there were some other really nice candle companies in the 90s where I got certain jar candles. I'd bring them home. I would melt. I would burn. I had my own Yankee Wax Tart thing. Those things were just comfort in our home. And what's really funny is that you don't think that men enjoy the scent as much as women. They totally do. And, there are some wonderful reviewers that I would watch on YouTube that did just candles, and they were excellent. And those guys really had a passion for fragrance, and I learned a lot about the history of different scents from my time on YouTube. And it's so hard doing an origin story. If you've watched everybody's, you can tell that we kind of go up and down and over and around and through and everything that we are saying, because it all converges in your brain at once. And if you want to be authentic, you don't want to be like, okay, so this is point one, and this is how I'm going to structure my speech. We're just here shooting from the hip, telling you who we are. So back to, I love fragrance. I'm with my husband. We are in an apartment for a couple of years, then eventually by a few just amazing miracles and God's grace, we get a house, because I'm telling you, we did not have a lot of money. I was working as, I raked horse poop for a living for a while. I was a professional mucker, honestly. And I also worked in childcare, and really, as an assistant teacher, you're just a glorified butt wiper. So I did all kinds of just very basic jobs that didn't bring me a ton of inspiration and joy. And then at the same time, we're trying to work in our ministry program and trying to figure out, who am I and how can I be authentic in the message and the passion of my life? But you hit a lot of brick walls, guys. Everybody does. It doesn't matter whether your tragedy is outward, whether you have, a horrible accident, or you've had a painful divorce, or you've had terrible betrayal, or somebody has died, or your hopes and dreams just keep getting crushed because life gets in the way. And that is very much what happened to Greg and I. And my love of creativity also sort of weaves into here. As someone in a church, there's not always a ton of time or appreciation for the creative arts, because that's just kind of not how it is. And I wasn't sure how to marry all these different things that were inside of me. I love home decor. I do not have a perfect house. I have a very small, humble home, but I work very hard to make it as inviting and as relaxing and hospitable, because people are important. There is nothing else, as I've already said, that's eternal except people. Where are you going to go? And what's going to happen in your life? I want my home to be a place where you can come and you can be unconditionally loved and you can feel safe, and fragrance is a part of that. So why do I always do spice scents? If you guys watch my channel, you know. Cinnamon Bear, and I just have a pile here of stuff that I love. Cozy Chai. You guys know these are my go-tos, and it's because they are hugs. I always talk about scent being a hug for your soul. And it's because this world is rough. It's nasty. It's mean. It's cruel. It'll chew you up and spit you out, but there's hope. And when you come into someone's home, hopefully like my husband and I, we are totally not perfect. We have had some crazy ups and downs. Our own character needs development all through our lives, no matter what walk of life you are in. I hope that you desire when you get up every morning to make a difference in other people's lives and to be kind, because those things are just absolutely essential. And especially if I claim to be a believer, hypocrisy, I think, is the greatest turnoff in this entire world to people who say, oh, I'm a Christian. Yeah, are you? Or are you saying one thing and living another? And no matter what your background is, no matter what your value system is, being authentic, being real is incredibly important. And I respect people no matter what walk of life they come from, if they're just genuine and they're honest. So anyway, back to wax. So I am with my husband. We finally get this house and we have our first child, and I have two girls. We have two girls. One is 18, one is 15. And just that was actually a low point in my life, even though I'm smiling about my daughter's birth. Being pregnant and being the mother of an infant and still working in childcare, and my husband, you know, we had this ministry stuff going on, but it doesn't all really go all that well. There's a lot of heartbreak because doors just keep closing and things are hard. So my husband decides, well, he's been a professional custodian for the first few years of our marriage, and he had one of those aha moments. I can only credit the wisdom of God, that he was cleaning carpet with a machine in the school system that he worked at as a day custodian. He took care of a huge elementary school in a prominent school district down by Detroit. And one day he's just like, I think the Lord's telling me I need to start a carpet cleaning company. And I'm like, you're crazy. You're going to do what for a living? I thought we were going into ministry. And I mean, this is like the reoccurring loop of our life. I thought we were going into ministry, door shuts. Thought we were going into ministry, another door shuts. Thought we were going into ministry, something else that we tried just completely blows up in our face. But God, because he just kept carrying us through. He kept refining our character. He kept making me more tender towards people. So wax for me is a place where, like I said, it doesn't matter what background you're from. We can both smell a summer holiday, and it can be a touchstone of, this is the memory it brought me, or this is why I like this kind of scent profile. And this whole YouTube deal, you guys have no idea. I love to teach, I love to speak, but I like to do it with people around me. The camera terrified me. So when my friends asked me to host that Scentsy party, well, a couple years ago, I joined Scentsy October of 2021, and so I'd been burning the candles for years prior, and part of why I got into Scentsy even before I was a consultant was because I burned so many candles, because I was a stay-at-home mom. Greg had launched the carpet cleaning business. Now I'm the secretary, which I am totally not that kind of person. I'm not terribly organized. I'm not super efficient. I'm not a bean counter. I'm not any of those things. I have an infant. I'm supposed to be, working towards this carpet cleaning thing. We have another baby. They're 3 years apart. I'm answering the phone, literally, guys, sometimes holding the baby, trying to get the bottle in their mouth, talking to the carpet cleaning person. And to be completely brutally honest, sometimes you need to use the bathroom all at the same time. It's like, what am I supposed to do with myself, But there was wax. So I would melt the Yankee Tarts and I would burn the candles, but I was home so much that I actually smoke damaged my walls with the candles, and Greg's like, we're going to repaint and we're done. So then I had to find something else. And thankfully, my mother had bought me for Christmas a Scentsy warmer and a few wax bars. And in my opinion, even though I love the scents from Yankee, and I know they have a new style now, but using these old wax tarts is just like, forget it. It's so hard to pry them out of the warmer. And the Scentsy wax and the beautiful warmers, they were so much better when it comes to that. And I do love a lot of Scentsy scents. If you guys watch my channel, I have a big club, and it's because I am an emotionally nostalgic person, and I love spice, I love bakery, I love woods. And Scentsy tends to get rid of a lot of what we like, so I've got a giant club to keep me happy. Anyway, So I started melting the Scentsy a lot more, and it took several years of just being a consumer. I met just by accident because I got a terrible bar I could not stand. One year there was a collection for summer, and it was about like camping and seashore. I think it was actually the same collection that had toasted marshmallow, which is amazing, and it's still in my closet. They had this Gone camping bar. I'm telling you guys, it stunk. And I really wanted to do something about getting this bar back to where I got it from because it smelled like burning rubber tires to me. So I just kind of randomly called up the lady that I had ordered from vicariously online. And it ended up being the woman who is now my director. And Jennifer Hong is the lady that I work under. She is amazing. She was a fantastic consultant, and she's an even better director. She is very inspiring. And I want to give her a shout out that you are a person that I treasure very much in my life. You've really made a difference in helping me grow as a woman. In a way, when you're an independent Scentsy consultant, there's kind of an entrepreneurship, but I'm getting ahead of myself. So I am learning the carpet cleaning business, and we had to repaint. All these things are happening, and there's sort of an identity crisis that I'm sure everybody has in their life. Mine came when I had these 2 little kids. I am trying to learn this whole new business thing. Ministry's not working out. Nothing's going my way. And I'm telling you what, there are times in life when you are in that wine press, that pressure cooker. That is a place where God has put you, whether you truly know him or not. Just embrace it and cry out to him and say, I have no idea why this mess is going on in my life. Maybe I don't even know if there is a God, but I do know that there is a reason that all this is happening. And I'm telling you what, my husband, he did not grow up really with faith, and his testimony is powerful. I'm not going to go into it here. That's a whole nother thing. Like, you can look up his Facebook page if you want. And we are such polar opposites. He grew up on very hard streets of inner city, almost. And I grew up with a silver spoon in my mouth on Fancy Lake over here. We met and gelled because of the same mission and the way that God has just been amazing in our lives. So with the wax, that was a comfort for me. And I was holding on to, stacks and stacks of candles over the years. And I have probably spent more money on Bath & Body Works candles than I even do wax now. Oh, and this is another one of my favorites, is autumn. I just brought up a few of my absolute favorites that no, I don't burn them anymore, but they're still here, and I keep a couple of them in the house for old time's sake. So a few years into having the business, and we've changed churches, and some things are starting to get kind of better than I'm looping back to 2020. We get to 2020, and life just totally shuts down. And then after that, we had sort of a home fellowship based kind of a deal, and as I've said, that's where I got into Scentsy. And as like a full-time deal, I was melting for years. I think I made my director when I was a consultant, when she was my consultant. I think I did pretty well to help her with her monthly PRB. And eventually, when she did talk to me, because I asked a few questions about hosting a party for my friend, she said, honey, just become a consultant. With as much as you buy, you really need to do it. So I am getting into this whole, I'm going to sell Scentsy now. So what am I going to do with this? How am I going to get the message out there? And somebody, I don't even know, suggested the YouTube channel thing. And like I already said, I have no problem talking to people in person, but cameras terrified me. If you guys want to laugh, go back and watch my first few videos trying. I didn't even know where to look, where the camera focus was for me. Where do I have my body language? Who am I directing this to? What is going on? And the years of speaking and having passion to touch other people's lives, especially women's ministry, that's where I did most of my work in the churches. I didn't know how to take that and my love of wax and home decor and bring them together, but it seemed as though YouTube might be the place where people could be encouraged. And I cannot tell you the joy I get from comments where people say, I was having a hard day, or I was just really discouraged, and somehow your wax video, it cheered me up. I pray and I hope that it is the love that I have for the Lord that flows through this camera to you wherever you are at. And maybe I'm talking about wax, but God is bigger than wax. He's so amazing. I was thinking of the story of the loaves and the fishes, where the little boy has just like 3 fish and a couple loaves of bread. And all these people had come to see Jesus. What I'm saying with this story is that inadequacy in our life brings a place for God to do amazing things. And this little boy has this lunch, and all these people are hungry. And the disciples that are helping Jesus, they find out that he's got this lunch, so they bring it to Jesus. And he multiplies that, and he feeds over 5,000 men and then women and children on top of it. I feel like that's kind of how this whole YouTube channel thing has gone. I'm like, Lord, I have nothing to give these people. I'm going to talk about wax bars. There's so many more problems in life, but the feedback that you have given me is that even something as humble as wax can bring you comfort. And it is the goodness of God that has kept me all my life I'm in my 40s with all the disappointments and the heartbreaks and things that I'm not going to go into on this channel, that his faithfulness has been so, so good. It brings men to repentance, his goodness and his love. That a couple of you are like, I want to tag you in the Y Wax. And I'm thinking, I'm going to be really honest here. I want people to know who I am. So every time that I get the camera out now, I've gotten over my fear, and I know that there are people on the other side of this video, and maybe all you need today is just a little emotional pick-me-up. I pray that when I am serving you, telling you about wax, telling you about my life, my family, my stories, my love for literature, where I do those occasionally because they're very hard to do. I do those little literary melting basket chats about my favorite childhood stories and things. I hope that it brings you encouragement. I hope that I am an authentic person. And I am just so amazed that wax and fragrance can bring people together. I have met so many amazing people. I am humbled by the friendships and the support and the love that I have received here. Honestly, in some ways, you guys have been more accepting and supportive than many of the things I've tried to do in churches all of my life. I found a home. I found a place to be myself. I found a place to use the gifts and the talents that God has given me. And I hope that this video has explained a little bit about me to you guys. So truly, truly, every time I pull out this camera, I am thinking, who is it who needs a touch, who needs hope, who needs peace? And if God can use loaves and fish, man, he can use wax. And I'm going to leave you with the reason that this warmer, if you watch my channel, is my favorite. This is the alabaster. You know why this is my favorite warmer? I've never shared this because I'm always just doing the professional thing. It's because there was a woman who came to Jesus with all she had, which was a flask of fragrance, costly oil, in an alabaster jar. She knew that she wasn't worthy of anything except rejection. But Jesus gives us unconditional love. And what she did is she threw that jar down. She broke it. And sometimes our lives are like that. We are so broken. Throw that jar down on the floor, friends. And give all that precious fragrance, anything you have. Give it to Jesus. And she was set free because she poured herself out in love for the Master. So this is why wax for me. It's because it's a touchstone and a comfort, and it's a place where I am able to express, I hope, love to all of you that are out there in Christ. Have an amazing day, guys. Oh, and I'm supposed to tag people after all that. So, Robin H. with Northern Lights Glow, Heidi Pirouettes, and Amy Scents and Songs. Tag, you guys are it. I don't really know how that works. I'm not great with the technical side of all this, but this is why I wax, and you all have a different story, and I hope to see you soon. Have a great day.